All right, everyone. So this is just a tutorial on how to deal with data sets that you have in Excel. I'm going to do this example specifically for the data set that you have to work with, but know that this applies for any data set that you want to work with. So the strategy that I've proposed in this situation is to choose the sample by going to the column that corresponds to your last name, and then going to the row that corresponds to your birthday. So for me, that means June, which is 06 and 29. And you'll see if you put that on this little cell at the top left corner, and then you press enter, then Excel will bring you automatically to that cell over here. And so here, this is P and 629, which is what corresponds to the cell that I should start with. Now what I'm going to do is to select this cell and then 19 below it. So that means in total 20 cells. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I'm going to do here is to change the font of the cells, right? So the color font for the cells. So I'm going to put it in black over here. Right, so what that means is that now I have 20 women in my population of Pumpkinville for which I actually know the height, right? So I know for this woman, for example, the height is 72.4 inches. For this woman, it's 64.3, and so on and so forth. Now, because we want to compute the average, mean for this sample, what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to write equal, which tells it tells Excel that I'm going to introduce a formula. So I'm going to write equal, and then I'm going to write the function for mean, which in Excel is average, and open the bracket. Now you'll see here it gives you a couple of options. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm computing the average of a certain data set. What's the data set? It's this data set. And so I'm going to select my sample of 20, I'm going to close the bracket, and I'm going to press enter. So that means that the mean height for my sample of 20 women is going to be 65.3. All right. So this is for computing the mean. You're going to have to do this with a sample of 20, and you're also going to have to do that afterward with a sample of 80 women from Pumpkinville. Now, for the 80 women, you can choose your sample however you like. You're free to choose any 80 women that you want. But the computation of the mean is going to be exactly the same. All right. Now, just as a reminder on how to use other functions in Excel, because I thought, why not review that as well. It is also possible to compute the standard deviation with Excel. So you can write for the standard deviation, you could write, this should be a period, you could write equals, and then here the function for standard deviation is going to be stdev, so standard deviation. And because we're looking at the standard deviation of a sample, I'm going to write .s. Okay, and then again, I open the bracket, it gives me the options, and I'm going to go and select all of this data. Right, I close the bracket and then I press enter. So that means that the standard deviation for this sample is going to be equal to 4.8. I can do the same thing for a couple of other things. So maybe suppose that I want to do my 5-number summary. So I'm going to select these two and merge them just to create a small title. So 5-number summary, which means I'm going to select the minimum, the first quartile, second quartile, which is the median, third quartile, and the maximum. So the minimum over here, I can do the same thing. It's very intuitive. I set equal, which tells Excel that I'm introducing a formula, and then I write min, open bracket, select my data, and press enter. Right? Then for the quartiles, what I can say is, okay, here I want the quartile, right? And then I'm going to select my data set, but the quartile, I have several quartiles, right? I could have the first, second, or third quartile. So the second thing that I'm going to have to write over here is after putting a semicolon like this, I'm going to write 1 because the first quartile is the one that I want. And then I can press enter. For the median, I'm going to write equals median, and then I can select my data set again and press enter. For the third quartile, I'm going to do the same thing as for the first quartile, which means I'm going to write quartile, open bracket, select all my data, and then semicolon 3, which tells me what the third quartile is. And for the maximum, I can write max and then select my data set. Right? So these are the main functions that you're going to have to use in Excel. Please keep in mind that the only one that you really need for this particular homework is the function that allows you to compute the mean, but it's also useful, and it will be useful for the research project to know how to find the 5-number summary and how to find the standard.